Hey, do you like Steve Ditko? Do you like Spider-Man? Well, it's your lucky day. We're going to grade some comic books. We'll be grading these early Spider-Man issues. So if you want to learn how to grade comics, or at least learn how I do it, or if you just want to look at some cool, old, early Spider-Man comics and some Steve Ditko art, then stick around. This is the video for you. Hey there, Bubby. Welcome to Shanghala. My name is Duke, and this is the Daily Grade on Shanghala, now in regular daily rotation once again. And today we're going to be grading some Spider-Man comic books. And again, right up front, these are not my books. I am grading these for work, although I'm not quite on the clock yet. This is something I'm doing just for you, a little warm-up for my workday. But full disclosure, these will be on the .com Comics website. Well, probably not on the website. These are going to go up on eBay. So if you go to eBay and search for the seller .com Comics within a week or two of when this video goes up, you may see these books listed for sale. But once again, this isn't really a commercial, just letting you know what I'm doing, why I'm doing it. But again, this is for you. Let you know a little bit about grading comics, and we'll look at some cool Steve Ditko art, some early Spider-Mans. And this is pretty early. I mean, this is number 8. Look at that, Amazing Spider-Man number 8. And I like how they have the Human Torch in here. They broke out the Human Torch pretty early, and by they, of course, I mean Stan Lee. I think Stan thought that the Torch was going to be the breakout star. Fantastic Four was only 6, 7, 8 issues in when the Human Torch got his own solo series in Strange Tales. I think it took a little bit for Stan to kind of realize that it was the Thing who was the most popular member of the quartet. But yeah, early on, in addition to going into his own series, the Torch was a frequent co-star in other places, and here he is in Spider-Man. I don't know if he's kind of lending a little credence to the web crawler, giving him a little bit of legitimacy, as it were. So this book, this one's a little rough. So yeah, I pick it up, and initially, you're looking at it like that, and you're like, man, it's a 4 or 5. It's maybe even a 5, but you get a little closer, and you can see we've got some puncture marks and some rips here. It looks like a cat got a hold of this book at one time, and also there's quite a bit of wrinkling, and I think that is some moisture wrinkling. There's not really actual water damage to speak of, but there is some wrinkling here. Rather, it's just from ambient moisture or what. And you can see a lot of rust on that staple. That's some pretty heavy rust migrating into the paper. So I think we're down to at least a 3. Let's look and see what else we got going on here. Luckily, there's no molding and no staining, just the wrinkling. The paper quality it's kind of tan, kind of browning up there on the corner. So look at that cool Steve Ditko art. Now, were you a fan of Steve Ditko? I don't know how old you are. I was growing up a kid in the 70s, a teen in the 80s, and I have to admit that at that point I did not really care for Steve Ditko. See Ditko on a book and I'd be like, ugh. Especially when he was hired to do the Legion of Superheroes. But the editor at the time, Jack C. Harris, was a good friend of Ditko's and would throw some work at him, even though, I don't think Ditko was really the most appropriate artist. That's a funny drawing. I don't think Ditko was the most appropriate artist for the Legion. But, it was later that I kind of went backwards in time and discovered Ditko's earlier work and just really kind of fell in love with him, both as a draftsman and a storyteller, but also just the art style. And of course you can see that Ditko really made use of that 9-panel grid, and you can see here That staple's really ugly, and I don't know how well you can see that rust is really migrating out quite a ways, like as far out as here. It's affecting that paper. I don't think that's actually quite the centerfold. Let's see here. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, that's awful. So, centerfold is still attached though. So here's the thing. I think I might get away with calling this book almost a 3, a 2.5. But with that much rust, I think I have to go even below a 2. The rust, the wrinkling, the water damage, and and the cat attack. And luckily, if you smell it, and you know, the cat didn't pee on it. We did recently get in a bunch of old Golden Age Fawcett, Golden Age Detective comics, and a cat had peed on them, and you could still smell it. However long ago that happened, that smell was still quite overpowering. So I think I'm actually going to go a 1.8 on that. So you tell me in the comments below, what would you do with all of the defects we've listed? How would you grade that book? And like I said, I'm going to go with a 1.8. So a 1.8 is a good minus. So that's pretty low. Of course, you know in comics, good is bad. Spider-Man number 11, second appearance of Dr. Octopus. What do you think of that? So this is interesting. Here, Ditko has kind of got away from the 9-panel grid, and he's on a 6-panel grid. Huh. Isn't that strange? I wonder if that is a function of Ditko, you know, of Stan Lee kind of getting busy, relaxing a little bit, and not giving Ditko as much of a active plot, because Lee never really gave full scripts, but as much of a plot to work with. And so Ditko had more freedom to kind of lay out the art with a little more room. The other thing it could be, I don't know exactly when Marvel went down to the artwork being twice, you know, the original art being twice the printed size, when they went down to it just being 1.5 times the printed size. But that could be another reason why we've gone from a 9-panel grid to 6 panels. Interesting. So I'm getting a little busy looking at the book. I'm not really looking at the condition. That happens a lot in these videos. So I'm kind of at a 4. Because we have quite a bit of tearing along the spine, chipping along the bottom. This cover doesn't, it's kind of off center. It doesn't, it seems tight at the spine. Seems tight at the spine, but you can see that it isn't wrapped quite right. And I don't know if that's an original printing defect. Probably it is. Because again, the spine is nice and tight, but you can see that as a function of the cover not being wrapped quite square, the cover overlapped the edge of the book quite a bit, and so that's why you have all this tearing here. So, and a little bit of a moisture wrinkling there, and kind of a water stain there as well, right along here. So I think that's going to be a little less than a 4. I'm going to go a 3.5 on that. So a 3.5 is a very good minus. You know, there's nothing missing from it. It's a little rough. And of course, you know, well, I'd go down to a 3 because now I see we've got this fold, this giant fold that runs the whole length. Now, is that just the cover? Or was the interior of the book folded too? Nope, just the cover. So actually, I think I'm going to go down to a 3 on that. You tell me, what would you do? What grade would you give that book? I just gave it a 3. So if you go to bid on that online, .com Comics is the seller, you are going to have a better idea than the average person judging just on the scan. Now this one has also got some rust. This is number 12, and this one definitely has some water damage. You could feel the wrinkling all through the book, the whole length and width of it. And you've got all this color flaking off here. Rust on that top staple, 1/4 inch at the top, the split. Where's my bottom staple? Oh, look at the rust on that. That's pretty awful. And the water stain there. So I think this one's going to get a 1/8 as well. I'm really hard on rust. Ditko did a good job with these animals, I would say. Boy, that's a classic pose right there. It's something you didn't see but once every 5 or 10 issues. Yeah, I think I'm going to go 1/8 just because you get the something's written on the front here too. STF? Shut the fuck, maybe? I don't know. Can you see it in pencil? STF. It's something else I don't know, and it kind of ends there. That looks like a W. Huh. But yeah, I think because of the water damage and that heavy rust, we didn't look at the centerfold, but yeah, that's pretty nasty. So a 1/8 on that as well. But even at a 1/8, that book's probably going to bring 40 or 50 bucks on eBay. Now we jump up a little bit. Issue 21. Human Torch is back. Still trying to air Spidey and a little bit of legitimacy, I guess. There's paint on this cover. Can you see it? Little splotches of paint here, here, and here. Again, we've got some, if it's not water damage, it's at least moisture wrinkling. And does that cut go all the way through? It looks like a razor cut. It does not go all the way through, so that's good. You can see that wrinkling maybe a little more. You've got some foxing starting on the inside. A little bit of a spine split there that might actually be a bug chew. More foxing here on the back. We've got some definite bug chewing going on. See that? See how that's a bug or a mouse? That's probably more likely a mouse than a bug. A bug would be like a straight line. See a lot of that. More foxing on that inside cover. I don't love that at all, because foxing is just mold that's taking its time. That's all that is. And now we're kind of back to almost a 9-panel grid again. Although there's a 3-panel page, which is something you don't see a ton of with Ditko in these books. Kirby would do it. Kirby would any excuse to do a full panel splash. He didn't care. But Ditko was a little more. Look at that. 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 panels on that page. I love his faces. I love that face. So, I think I'm going to give this one a 2. A little paint down here too. I'm going to do a 2 on this one. Because of the foxing, the chewing. But that's a 2. We are slowly working up in grade as we get to the newer books. How long has this video been going? 15 minutes. That's not too bad. And here's some more Green Goblin. Or not more, but I mean more in the sense that it's not his first appearance. what did he first appear in? 14, I think. So we've got a spine split here, and that looks like some chewing, some animal chewing that's helping it along, really along the whole edge there. And again, you've got some moisture wrinkling, some chewing up here. I'm a little nervous to actually open this book too wide, because I'm afraid the cover is going to come right off, just from looking at that spine. Centerfold's nice and tight anyway. And now we're back to a 9-panel grid. Huh. Huh! That's a weird looking face. That's kind of a Dick Tracy flat top looking character. That looks like Ditko was in kind of a hurry when he drew that. Although look at this. I mean, Ditko could get so much emotion into a face, you know? And here too. That's some Three Jokers stuff going on right there. And Betty Brant, she never took off. So I guess, I mean, the cover's attached, but you've got at least an inch-long spine split right there, 1/4 inch at the top, and an inch at the bottom, and all of this. So I think I'm going to go with a 2 here as well. I can't go much above that because, I mean, this spine is pretty ragged, and you have that moisture wrinkling. So I'm going to call that a 2. That's a 2. And so we had 2 of those actually. This one is actually in much better condition, although you can see some genuine water staining right there. But otherwise it is in much nicer shape. Lots of spine stressing, and an actual chip out right there, and a 1/2 inch top spine split. Oh, Spidey board game. Maybe, maybe not. Looking for the center fold. That's an odd pose. It's like Ditko was like, I need to get the legs in the panel. So that's fine. So we just looked at the interior of the other one. Oh, that cover's just kind of holding on at the top, isn't it? So this one I'm going to go up to a 3. I can do a 3.5 on that one. The biggest thing is the water damage, but the edges are, well, I mean, you got a lot of folding here where it's overlapped. But it looks nice enough that I hate to give it a 3. But you got that chip out there too, and the 1/4 inch spine split. So I guess maybe I should go with 3 because of the water stain. And that's probably what I'll do. So that's a 3. And here we are at number 26. And this, you can see, this is going to be the last Ditko one we've got. And this one's decent. This one's pretty decent. Good. Not too bad up here, but here you've got quite a few stresses. That was folded right there all the way across. A lot of chips and rips along the bottom. But this is the first one that doesn't really have any water or moisture damage to speak of. Everything's complete. Pages are a little tan. There's that center fold right there. Center fold's tight and complete. And you can see at this point, Ditko is getting his plotting credit. that he fought for and deserved, I think. So I think this one I am actually going to give I think I'm actually going to go with 3.5 on this. You've still got a little bit of wrinkling here that I don't know how well you can see. It's not quite moisture wrinkling, but still some wrinkling there. And you got all these tears at the bottom and that big fold. So I think we're going to go with 3.5 on that one. And now we are into the Romita era. And this is a fairly early Romita. See the change in art style. Petey's getting a lot more sleek, a lot more debonair. And of course you've got Mary Jane, who's really the cat's meow. Look at that. He's just leaping over the table at her. So we've got a little bit of a rip there. But the inside looks okay. It's nice and tight. Oh, was that a spine slit at the bottom? No, it was not. Back looks okay. Got a fold here. Everything else looks all right. So I think I'm going to call that one. So here's the thing. I could call it a 5, but I'm not going to. I'm going to go a 4 or 5 just because, and in a way this is unfair because it's a dark cover, it's a black cover, so all of these stress lines are going to show up a lot more. But they show up. It's noticeable. And you just have quite a few of them. And you also have, this whole top is stressed. So all kinds of little micro tears along there. And again, that's where the cover overlapped. Maybe you can see it there. The cover overlapped the top of the book. And so it got pounded and stressed. So I don't think I can get that up to a 5. I'm going to call that a 4.5. 4.5. Very good plus. And here we have issue number 57, Khazar, or Khazar. How do you say it? Do you say Khazar, Khazar? That's obviously an arrival date because it's about 3 months more. It's about 3 months before the cover date. So that's probably not the buyer, not the reader who penciled that in. They probably bought that book just like that because the store, they wrote the arrival date on there so that they would know how long it had been there and when to pull it off. Although that's really what the cover date was. The cover date is not when the book was published. And you hear people, a lot of people will say that, oh, it was February whatever year. Well, no, that was, the cover date was the date that the store was supposed to pull it. The distributor was supposed to pull it and send it back. I'm looking at the indicia here, 1968. And it, back then it was 3 months before when it actually went on sale. So usually when you see an arrival date, that's a retailer, whatever kind of store it was, who had every intention of pulling this book off the stand before he got to February. He was probably gonna pull it, once it had been there a month, once the next issue came out. This one's not a bad looking book. You've got a few stress lines here, but 5, 6, 7. Got one there. That top again overlaps the edge and is folded, but you don't have really any tears to speak of. Little chip and a little tiny ding there. That cover looks okay. Inside, pages are nice. Look at that. You could buy a missile firing tank. What do you think of that? Only $6.98. Quick, get out your inflation calculator. How much was $6.98 in 1968? What does that equate to in 2020 dollars? Over 6 feet long. So, here's the thing. If you send in your $6.98, you didn't get that. You got basically a cardboard box with a tank printed on it, and your missile firing capability was essentially a rubber band. So, and here's the other thing: I always wanted to send away for these toy soldiers and never did. But I hear from people who did get them that they were paper thin. They were plastic, but not like what you think of as, the plastic army men that that you might have seen in Toy Story. These things were, I mean, those men run through a meat slicer. They were paper thin. Um, so anyway, anyway, I'm gonna give that. I'm gonna give that a. I can't quite go to a 6 just because there's some fading, but it does still have some cover gloss, so that's good. But I don't feel I can quite go to a 6, but that's definitely a 5.5. What do you think? Would you give that a 6? Look at it close. Would you give it a 6, or would you do like I'm about to do and give it a 5.5? Get that chip there. So I think I've got to go with a 5.5, but even that's not a bad grade. No sabubby. That's pretty decent. Pretty decent. This next one I think is going to get a 6 though. And that is our pal the Kingpin, swinging all Spidey around like a rag doll, like a baseball bat, like he's taking some practice swings. So let's see what we got here. This is probably a 6.5 maybe. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 spine stresses. Good cover gloss. No fingerprints in the black ink, so that's good. A modern book, you can't even touch the damn thing without getting your fingerprints in it. It's nice and tight and square all the way around. Some blunting here on this corner and a little ding in there. But whoever owned this book read it with some care. The back is still nice and white. You do have that little corner folded just a bit. Now let's look and make sure we don't have anything cut out of it, because that would break my heart. Is Gwendolyn. So a little bit of the paper quality is, a little bit of tanning here around the edges. But I am still going to go with a 6.5 on that book. That's what I'm going to do. What would you do? I keep asking that, but I sincerely and genuinely want to know. So leave a comment down below if you disagree with any of my grades, or even if you just want to chat about these books, take me to task for any of the comments that I've made. By all means, please do that. But that is that for this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. I had fun anyway. And until next time, goodbye, good luck, and please be good to each other.